Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I'm just going to wait a few minutes as it's just coming up to 9. So grab a cup of something and we'll start shortly. Gently remind folks to come and see. Just a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just sharing this free invitation to a bunch of groups on social media. And if anyone else wants to come and partake. So if you're on here and you're realizing that there's some friends in your world that you might want to invite, go ahead and share the link that you clicked on. And we'll just begin in just a couple more minutes. Welcome to my humble abode. I'm just going to make sure I H here, and then we should begin. I think. See if anybody else joins us. Oh, hi. Welcome, Ellie. Good to see you.
Oh, I'm flashing in and out.
Just, we're recording.
Okay.
And so if you're the kind of person that wants to engage in the conversation, then you're welcome to engage. And this is going to be published to everyone. So great. Welcome. Are you able to unmute yourself? It could also be online. This is my first time having somebody come on, and it could be my microphone. Are you able to hear me? Sort of? That's fascinating. Helpful to have you on here. Better now?
Soft.
And I don't know why I can't hear you. What can you do about that? Are you used to going on Zoom and that kind of stuff? Okay, well this platform is a bit different. And oh, what I can do. You could pretty much say something.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
It was on my end. Great. Yeah. Welcome. Oh, you just left. Well, we'll wait just a few minutes. I want to pull out a very particular game here in Coyote's Guide. Coyote's Guide. Trees and survival skills. If you've never heard of Coyote's Guide to Connecting with Nature, I highly recommend it. There's a particular game, which I don't even know if it's actually in this, but I've learned it from these folks that wrote this. It's called Watchtower. So just for that, and then we shall begin. One thing I'm curious about, I wasn't expecting anybody to be able to come on. I was expecting them to just be able to come onto the chat. So I'm learning a lot today. Okay. Gallery view, speaker. Interesting. Okay. I'm learning. Thank you for your patience. Let's see. I'll do some. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jamie Black. This is Heart Skills Talk series, all about outdoor activities. Now, I wanted to come on here and share about outdoor activities because I get asked a lot about outdoor activities. And I could offer every single link and list to every single resource that I have found for outdoor activities, and that would take me hours and hours because I've been doing this a very long time. So I'll be your host today, and before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that I'm sitting on the Comox First Nations unceded traditional territory. And I feel very privileged and very blessed to be right near a forested area where I can hear a swamp. I can hear the water swelling in the swamp, and as it's swelling, I can hear it rushing now downhill towards the next part of the estuary and or to the swamp further down, and it brings joy to my heart every time I hear that. Every time I open the door, as I open the door, I've just been gardening a bunch, and as I open the door, these birds, all these sweet little brown birds, are all over my garden because there's seeds and worms there. And they just flutter away as soon as I open my door. I feel like a little druid out here in the nature, and I feel very blessed to have a warm home and to be able to be on these lands. And I just want to acknowledge that I don't take this lightly to be sitting here. I feel and always feel that reconciliation is what needs to be done, and not just from a vocal standpoint or just saying we need to do reconciliation, but to actually take action as a non-Indigenous person connecting with the land and ensuring that we don't do cultural appropriation and all of these different things. So, so I invite you to consider doing similar things. So here we are, and I just feel very blessed, very open, and willing to engage in this conversation of outdoor play, not just from a list of activities, but deeper. I strongly believe that outdoor activities could just be played, or they could be facilitated with intention. Let me go a bit deeper in that. I've been running outdoor activities and was a professional outdoor guide for 20 years. And I did my master's research studying engagement, studying guided discovery learning for children in nature. I studied my children's game that I created. And I created this game because of so many children I was surrounded with would way rather be on their DS, on their computer or their digital device playing video games rather than going out and playing in nature. And so it made me curious. And that's one thing I'm going to invite you to do, is just remain curious about the activities, about what is challenging children in your world, all of that kind of stuff. Because if we don't remain curious and we lay judgment, then that's where our minds are closed. And so, yeah, just invite you to remain curious. Yeah. I have a bunch of books that I'm going to share, just a tidbit of each one. I have a bunch of online resources, so I'm just going to dive in and I'm going to share them all with you. I even put a post on social media last night and I said, who's got some link ideas? And I thought it was really precious because I had a person send a whole bunch of link ideas. So I'm going to start with that. So, yeah, here's my post. And feel free to do this yourself. It's one of the fastest and easiest ways to access resources. Here we go. So I said, who could recommend a good website that explains how to play outdoor activities for youth? And go. And these are all the recommended sites. redsquirrelresources.co.uk, livingconnectionfirst.net, projectwet.org, fishwildlife.org, Wikipedia, the New Games Book, Amazon, Sharing Nature, Amazon Coyotes Pocket Guide, sharingnature.com, flyingdeernaturecenter.org. So right there, you already have a big list. Now, for those of you that don't know, I have a private Facebook group, and we have hundreds of games and activities that we post on the regular in our guide section. So when you join this group, you click guides, and it's all free and it's shared by everyone. And then the titles of all the activities are listed over here. So you have right relations and harvesting, activities for children and youth, child and youth mental health, words and tone, nature and art, hand skills, heart skills, wildcrafting, resources of wildcraft play, the wheel of the year, online resources, wild animals, tools we recommend, wonderment in a child's eye, social emotional skills, earth medicine, adult mental health, guiding practices, wholesome food, head skills, growing your own food, visioning, crafts to make, natural remedies and elixirs, live action role play, designs for a dream secret meeting place, nature songs, earth conscious curriculum, the nature of learning, about people with autism, hazards in nature, nature resources, cartography, compost is key, naughty knots, PG jokes, archery and swords, puppet and mask making, hard conversations with teens. So this, yeah, these are all the headings, and we just constantly add activities and ideas on there. And sometimes they're videos, sometimes they're images, but yeah, just help yourself. And so it's, as you can see, it's Wildcraft Play School with no H. And that's our group. So I'll be putting this in the show notes. And just so you know, the show notes are listed under wildcraftplay.com/heart skills, and this will be called heart skills /2. And it'll look a lot like this. So you'll have a bit of a header and this video, and then some information and some links and resources underneath that. So this is kind of the layout and the way that we're presenting this information. So you're welcome to help yourself any of the links and resources you wish. And we will be posting this in our, online and things. So I don't know if you know about this book, but it's one of my favorites. And I am very grateful for Wes Geets, who introduced me to Coyotes Guide. This is the book that he gave me. And as you can see, I rely on this for lots of different facilitation techniques and activities and mentorship practices. So I'm going to talk about activities, but I'm also going to talk about how important it is to facilitate things in a good way. So Coyotes Guide is one of the most well-rounded educational materials for teaching the art of mentoring. When you mentor a child through an activity, it's not just saying, these are the rules, this is how you play, go ahead and play. It's about coming alongside those children and youth and engaging with them and not telling them how to solve things. It's about believing in them and listening to them and waiting for the right moment to share maybe a story, maybe an anecdote, maybe some actual educational information, maybe. But wait for children to be satiated. And I'm going to share more about this because I did a whole master's thesis in how to engage children. And I have a bunch of books that I'm going to show you that I also recommend, which I will put in the show notes as well. So in Coyote's Guide, there are a number of activities, and one of the activities that I had recommended to a person who had never heard of it before is called Watchtower. I don't even know if it's actually in this book, but I learned it from these folks, and I can't seem to find it right now, so I'm just going to explain it. So Watchtower is an activity where you need a hill, and you need hiding places on that hill. And it's a really good activity to get their energy and their wiggles out because they run up and down that hill so many times. But it's also a really good activity to help them become more connected with nature. And I'll explain why. So you have one person at the top, and typically I begin by being that first person to model what it is that you have to do. But much like at a prison, there's a watchtower where the person will come and they will scan to see if there's anything going wrong or if there's any escapees from the prison, right? So this watchtower person is at the top, and when they're not looking, their eyes are closed and they're counting to a number, and they said, counting for 25 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, and go nice and slow. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. And very intentionally make it even like slower than normal. And then when you open your eyes, they have to be hidden. And if you can see them, you call them out. And their objective, what I say, some people play this differently, is that they have to get to me, touch me, and all the way back down to the start and back and down and back and down and back as many times as they can before the end of the game. So it's not about competing against the other person. It's about just like doing your best. How many can you do? Okay. And you don't want the bottom to be so far away that they're like pooped by the first run. It's got to be, 20 to 30 yards away, or maybe 50. And it's a line in the ground, so people know that they have to get across that line. And I'll know if they cheat because I can see it. So you have to be in eyesight of this person at the top. So as you're running up and down, when you look, when your eyes are open and you're looking and you're trying to find anything, a colored toque, a jacket, anything, a kid's leg, you still have to identify them. And as you're looking, take longer than you think. If you can't see anything right away, just keep looking, keep looking, keep looking. And what happens for the youth is that they're hiding under these leaves and they're waiting and they're waiting, and they're no longer like looking up. They're looking down. They're looking at the spider that they used to be afraid of, but they're not afraid anymore because they know that if they squeal, they're going to get caught. So they're just staring at this spider, but then they start realizing, oh, cool, it's black, and look at the hair on its legs, and look at his cool eyes, and wonder what he wants to do, and why is he going over there? Like, they're actually studying nature while hiding if you wait long enough. So this is like key in the world of being a sneaky coyote. And there's so I've got another, so that's one activity. I've got another activity. This is a really sweet one. It's called Firekeeper. And so it's a good initiating game. So the way Coyote's Guide lays out their activities is it's really great. So it says core routines, The Child's Passions, Book of Nature, Natural Cycle, and Indicators of Awareness. So for Firekeeper, the core routines are animal forms, expanding the senses, and sit spot. And those are all activities that you can learn in this book. And Child's Passions are sneaking and getting caught, challenges, and treasure hunting. And the Book of Nature is mammals, ecological indicators. Natural Cycle is the east to inspire, and the southwest to break. And indicators of awareness are aliveness and agility, common sense, quiet mind. And so they have a primer. There's a mythic story that has been passed down through the oral traditions of nature mentors in connection with this activity. It goes a little something like this. It is said that a long time ago, back when humans still talked to animals all the time, the humans on the earth would spend their winters shivering with cold. Why? Because they didn't have fire to warm their bodies, and they didn't yet know how to make fire by rubbing sticks together. There was fire on the earth, one fire that always kept going. But the humans could never get near it because huge monsters called Gazumbats guarded it. These monsters were enormous, very quick, and also greedy, wanting the fire all for themselves and never sharing the fire with anyone else, never letting anybody get near it. However, the monsters had one weakness. They had no eyes. To compensate for their blindness, they could hear extraordinarily well, better than deer or rabbit. They could hear a mouse's footsteps 100 feet away. So all day and all night they used their hearing to guard the fire, catching any human who might try to sneak in and steal a bit of fire. Do you think you could sneak in and steal the fire from the Gazumbats? Well, you're about to get your chance. Here's how to play. Set up a playing area. Have everyone stand in a large circle and use their shoes to mark the edge of the circle, or you can allow the circle to be an approximate size that everyone remembers. Depending on the terrain, you can invite everyone to take off their shoes and go barefoot so they will all be able to walk even more quietly. The goal of the game is for someone standing on the outside of the circle to stalk into the middle of the circle and steal the keys from under the nose of the firekeeper without ever being heard and pointed at by the firekeeper. Select a firekeeper, ask one person to be that firekeeper. The firekeeper sits blindfolded on the ground in the middle of the circle. Place the fire. Find something to represent a good fire. Take your car keys or something else noisy when handled and place them about a foot out front of the firekeeper. Catch sneakers. If the firekeeper hears anyone sneaking in, he or she will point in the direction of the sound. If the point is accurate, you will announce it and ask the person to return to the edge of the circle. If their point was not accurate, tell them so. You will probably want to limit the number of inaccurate points to 6 or 7, so the firekeeper will be forced to really listen and not just point everywhere. That happens a lot. Also, ask the firekeeper to make a clear point that goes out quick like an arrow, not waving in all directions. The firekeeper can also check the fire every 30 seconds or so by feeling to see if the keys still lie there. Manage the crowd. Each sneaker on the edge of the circle waits until you, as the referee, point at them, offering them a chance to sneak in. Don't just let them all go in at once or else it's just craziness. Allow only 2 or 3 to sneak at a time. This prevents the chaos of 10 or 12 people sneaking in at the same time. A smaller number also makes the game challenging and exciting. People can hardly wait to have their chance to steal the fire. Now, this is the part that I think is really great about this book. Inside the mind of the mentor. This page will get participants fox walking and sneaking. People seem to really get the importance of moving slowly and quietly. They realize how much noise they make when they move normally, and they see how easy animals and other people can hear their approach. They begin to understand They create disturbance and can choose to control and lessen that disturbance. For these reasons, playing this game early on boosts the quality of all future sneaking. Their sense of balance comes alive, they become confident in their movements, and they feel inspired to sneak up on animals or humans. This game will cause participants, without being told, to make fox walking a part of their everyday life. There's alternatives, varying the surfaces, and playing with two fire keepers. So somebody asked me about the game Camouflage. I will share a little bit about that. It's probably in this book as well, but I'm just going to share from memory. So it's ideal for a landscape where you're walking on a trail and you have permission to jump into the bushes. So the way I play it is I yell camouflage and everybody jumps into the bushes. And the ideal thing is that they want to be as close to me as possible without being seen. And so imagine, that you want to be camouflaged. So they drop their bags where they are, they jump into the bushes, and I count. I say camouflage for 20. So I give them 20 seconds and they count down from 20, and then I open my eyes and I look around. And now as the viewer, I'm standing in one spot. There's also a game called Eagle Eye that is very similar to this. I don't even know quite what the difference is because often when I play it with kids, they kind of steal the same rules. It's the same game concept. So after counting to 20 seconds, I open my eyes and I look around. And as I said, it's really good to just let them be quiet on the earth. So here they are being quiet on the earth and really looking, and they can see that I'm really looking. But there's a trick to this. Being quiet in nature is just such medicine. That anticipation that they have slowly goes away because now they're just lying there. Some of the kids even say they get bored, and that's okay. They're not used to slowing down and lying on the earth. They're lying on the earth. So sneaky. And then you can do how many fingers do you see? And you hold them up high and, where you are, and, you turn so everybody can see. And they all will say 4, 4, 4. And as they say 4, you look in the direction that you hear. And then you can say, put out your hand and say water for 15, and they come and touch your hand and get water. You can say favorite food for 15, and they come and touch your hand and say their favorite food and run to a new place. And then hide again. And once you find somebody, they have to join you in the center circle, but they're not allowed to give away where everybody else is. And if they do, you just need to ask them to stop because it's not fair. And lots of people want to be the one that sit in the middle, and lots of people don't. And so, yeah, there's a whole journey around facilitating activities like this. So I want to dive into the world of facilitation. So I just want to share a little bit about my philosophy here. So at the bottom of my webpage called Philosophy, under About, you'll see this. And this is my thesis. In my thesis, closer to the end, I have some recommendations. It is a very long thesis. And so let's see, page. I want Recommendations, page 84. So scrolling down to page 84, I really wanted to share about what I found in my research. So I was studying guided discovery learning for children in nature, and I was recommended a couple of key humans in the world. Richard Louv, who wrote Last Child in the Woods. I'm just going to share my screen here. So Richard Louv, who wrote Last Child in the Woods, has some really good information about how important it is for children and youth and adults to spend time in nature. John Young is who wrote Coyote's Guide here. And there's an author that Jerome Bruner. This one, I'm excited to share more about Jerome Bruner and the work around narrative therapy and the connection between narrative and storytelling and nature connection. And then John Dewey's theories around learn by doing. We have Clark and Glaser, which is related to questing, and McGonigal, who is all about internal motivation. Feel welcome to have a read of this 118-page thesis, but I really recommend the page that I'm at right now. A little bit about this theory that I have around the hummingbird approach. At the start of my research, I didn't have a name for what I call this facilitation practice that I have. And by the end of it, the hummingbird approach came. And it's become the description I use to identify the traits and characteristics of effective facilitation as experienced in the games that I play in Wildgraph Play. I was at a conference for the Child Development Center, and we were talking about hummingbird parenting, where similar to helicopter parenting. So helicopter parenting is where a parent will hover over their child and they will do everything for them, carry their bags for them, tie their shoes, make sure they don't fall, all this sort of stuff. Where if you know anything about hummingbirds, I studied a little bit about hummingbirds and I learned that they kick their fledglings out of their nests within a week of being born, which means it's kind of a bit of tough love from these hummingbirds' parents and to their fledglings. And so just inviting this approach in not necessarily giving the answer to the children, but also really holding them as able in their life. This hummingbird approach displays hummingbird-like techniques, delivering just at the right moment, injecting just the right nectar, so cues, inquiries, and storylines for the children in order to ignite curiosity, instigate growth, and achieve higher level of learning. So here are the recommendations. And this comes from a bunch of research and practice and life experience. It's to set the stage, set things up in advance if you have time, if you have the capacity and resources to do that. Props and costumes are so fun. Having things out in nature that they can go find is a big deal. We use gold coins. We go on quests. And then when we get into the world of live action role play, we remain in character. So I realized that when I broke from character to put on my teacher hat, that many of the enchanting qualities of playing a role and being a part of a story with the children somehow lessen. From this, I learned that it was essential that I stay in character when I'm doing Wildcraft play. The Wildcraft play is an activity that I created that's wrapped around wildcrafting, playing in nature, being in nature, and it feels like a video game, but it's in real life. So it feels like D&D, but it's in real life, Dungeons and Dragons. Allow flexibility of time. After my experience, I can strongly recommend using the 8 Shields model. And the 8 Shields model is the work that John Young and everybody does connected with Coyote's Guide. It's listed in the book a little bit, but there's even more information online about this 8 Shields model. With a healthy dose of intuition around the necessity of being flexible. Intuition is a key aspect of being flexible, being connected, following your gut, and listening to the reaction and responses of the children. You want to ensure the storyline has a beginning, middle, and end. So when you are hosting an activity, you really want that storyline to have a beginning, middle, and end each day, but also have a beginning and middle and end over the course of the whole campaign that you're playing. You want to live the story. So rather than turning the children into storytellers by allowing them to become their own story crafters and let the story unfold as a group, I could see full engagement. So instead of them being a storyteller, they actually lived the story. They lived the story. And one of the tricks that I use is I say silly things like, once upon a time there was a, and I would let them, and all of a sudden over there we see a, and somebody would say a rhinoceros, and I'd be like, well, it's smaller than a rhinoceros and it has 2 heads and it smells funny or something like that, and it just like gets their curiosity going. A big piece about the facilitation of good activities is the Mary Poppins approach, having a positive presence. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. So the tone of voice, positive approach, positive presence is always a sweet way of engaging. Empathize and let go. So when somebody complains about something or has a hard time, it's okay to, I'm just reading this. It's about detaching from the perception of being right or being a know-it-all as an educator. And instead, it's about resisting control. So empathize with what they are feeling. And you can say things like, they'll say, what am I supposed to do? And they'll say, I don't know, good question. And then I wait instead of filling in the blanks. This is key. And they'll say, well, I don't get it. And I go, oh, and then I wait. And I let their little cogs in their brain start to turn and start to fill in the blanks and let them engage. So that's a big part of the hummingbird approach. And for the love of mystery, it's so fascinating how much we forget that when a child sees a frog for the first time, if we don't get down and go, whoa, what's that? We lose that mystery. We take away from those sweet little moments where they're excited and in awe, and you're like, oh yeah, that's just a frog. If you say it that way, then we're missing out on that. Autonomy and cooperation. Encouraging autonomy is such a huge thing for me. Having them really own their own agency and sovereignty, governing themselves as a group. Seeking support. So when you have kiddos who have different varying needs, get a support person to join them and help them on their journey so that you can continue crafting the magic and the mystery. So that's that. And now I want to share, I just want to say that if you have any questions or comments or curiosity around my research, you're more than welcome to go and check this out. Again, I'm just going to go back and show you where the link is. When you go to my website and you click about and you click on philosophy, it's down there at the bottom. So you can just click on either of these things here. So there you go. So I created a little list, and this list is inspired by Steve Van Meter and John Dewey in The World and the Theories of Nature Connection. And we have, here we have these practical ways of engaging. So sensory awareness activities, sit spot, texture hunt, sound mapping, nature observation and phenology activities, phenology walk, micro hikes, nature journaling, ecological role play and storytelling, animal role play, ecosystem scenarios, nature stories, hands-on conservation and stewardship projects, habitat restoration, water testing and stream cleaning, trail building and maintenance. Having kids do real things in real life and not just play is actually something they love to do. You'd be surprised. They love having jobs. They love like getting stuff done and adulting. Problem solving and team building, orienteering and mapping, ecosystems, scavenger hunts, survival skills training, reflective and mindful practices in nature, guided nature meditation, reflections on nature walks, nature mandalas, doing art in nature, creative and expressive activities in nature, eco art projects, poetry and nature writing, photography in nature. There's so many different activities out there, so many different activities. And so I really do encourage you to just open your mind and your heart to the world of nature-based activities and getting creative in using tools and resources that you are comfortable with. So before I go, I'm going to share a couple of books here with you. This is the first book I ever picked up, Sharing Nature with Children, and this is Joseph Cornell. And some of the activities in this book are also in Coyote's Guide. So they talk about role playing, they talk about webbing. They have What Animal Am I? Find Your Age, Hug a Tree, Animal Clue Relays. Oh, there's camouflage. Ha! It's page 103 in this book. Camouflage. Bird calling, calling predators. They have a little journal in here, so you can actually write in a little journal. So, yeah, tons and tons of different activities and ideas that could go on forever. This is another one Steve Van Meter wrote. It's called Earth Keepers. And this is 4 keys for helping young people live in harmony with the earth. So it's actually intentional activities directly wrapped around the world of stewardship of the earth. And it's pretty sweet. It's a whole world and environment that's set up for ages 10 to 12. And it takes 2.5 days to run it. You have different teachers and leaders. It's fun to have them sort of become apprentices There's a whole storyline. There's tools and resources. There's a training manual. There's a diary. Yeah, and the art in it's really quite precious. So that's that book. I also wanted to share a little bit more of Steve Van Mater's work. He really inspired me with the theory of hooking them. So that's one like sweet little thing I took away from the work that he does. And it's kind of like if you think of the Bridge to Terabithia, that there was this magical storyline that was really holding this vision of full imaginative adventure on the other side of the river, and they had this bridge that they would cross. And I feel like I am a bridge to taking children out of technology and out of their life and out of what they already know, and building a world of imagination and play and creativity. And so in this book of his, he has a bunch of stuff specifically around gnomes and the magic of gnomes, and also believes more in the world of earth education rather than environmental education. So I'm actually just trying to find this sweet little image, but it's not showing up here. Yeah, he has lots of sweet little images in here. Thought I would find it faster than this. That's funny. There's so many things I want to read from this, but I'm not really sure. The Lost Guides. I remember hearing about one state curriculum development conference where they started out by asking the participants to bring all the environmental education materials they could. When everyone got together, the organizers piled their stuff on tables around the room and asked the participants to sort through it looking for good ideas. I think the major expense for this practical charade was in renting the photocopy machine that was set up in the center of the room, because that's literally how their state curriculum guide was produced. So evaluating. They've got tools on evaluating materials. Who paid for the materials? Are the leaders encouraged to build complete programs? Can the leaders see the big picture? Does the introduction include a lot of lofty aspirations? Do the learning experiences really address underlying environmental concerns? Are there specific models and schedules for the leaders to consider? Do the activities really accomplish what they claim? Are the activities tacked on just to get some doing in there somewhere? Do the activities captivate and motivate the learners? Do a lot of the activities end up with discussion or follow-up? Do the activities deal with basic ecological processes? When they are participating in the activities, do the learners know where they are going and why? After they're finished with the activities, do the learners know what they can do next? And are they encouraged and supported in doing it? Are the essential activities mostly classroom-based exercises? Do the activities fire the learners up about our environment? By the way, we analyzed some of our Earth education materials using this checklist, and we fell short on a couple of the items ourselves. The important thing is to use these questions to evaluate what you need to do with the materials you are examining. So if you're looking for activities, question it, analyze it. Is it actually functional for your resources? Are you doing it in a way that's useful? So early on, I named Richard Louv, Last Child in the Woods, This is a good read through. The simplest, most profound, and most helpful of any book I have read on the personal and historical situation of our children and ourselves as we move into the 21st century. So this isn't necessarily about activities, but it's about that how, like how are we leading these children, especially now that we have gone through a pandemic. So many of these kids are dysregulated, they have anxiety, there's disorders and depression, suicidal tendencies, all of this kind of stuff. So we're not just dealing with how do we get kids outside. It's how do we support their souls? How do we help their mental health? What activities can we use for that? And for those of you that are teachers, I picked this. It's Natural Curiosity, a resource for teachers building children's understanding of the world through environmental inquiry. By an organization called A Resource for Teachers. To these models like inquiry-based learning, integrated learning, stewardship, and experiential learning, all fitting into one lesson plan. They have many lesson plans listed in here, different activities, examples, models, drawings. There's lots of sweet things in this book that I highly recommend to take a look at. And then there's like more specific practical activities like wild edibles and how do you identify them and which books do you find. And I find that if you have books, that's helpful. So I have a keen interest in connecting children with the food we eat and understanding what it is that we're looking at and how to harvest it and make it. I mean, potion making. It's like you'd be surprised. Kids love it. They love it. I have a juicer. I never knew I would be so excited about juicers, but they love putting things through the juicer. They might not drink it. So you got to be prepared for that, but they love putting things through juicers. So that's a fun activity. And something you'd be surprised that they really love to do too is money. So this is a little book that I picked up that I wanted to connect with teaching about money, the myths around money, and sort of a parent's guide to helping kids unravel the mysteries of money. And there's some people in the world that don't believe in connecting money to outdoor play, but I truly do, because currency and exchange is something that they have to deal with their whole adult life, and they watch their parents dealing with it all the time. And so normalizing it through play and having it become a currency of exchange and allowing them to pack it around with them and lose it and find it and make it and sell things, and that whole world of currency is and barter and trade is one of the most engaging activities that I have ever seen children engage with. So I feel like I just gave you an earful of all sorts of different activities and ways and things to engage with. And I want to, before I sign off, there's just a couple of things that I want to share with you. I'm really grateful that you took the time to watch this right to the end, and I hope these resources are useful to you. Please remember that we will put all of the information and links and resources on our show notes at wildcraftplay.com/heartskills/2. And we have a couple of different resources available to you if you would like more support. So we have an online app that's free, and you can dive in and access like this video or other resources that we have been sharing, past podcasts and conversations that we've recorded in this app. There's also groups that you could join within the app. So I'm gonna give you I'm gonna show real quick. So when you come into this app, you have your own personal feed here, and then you have any courses that we're offering here. This is where we are hosting this online session right now. We also have on-land activities near and around the Comox Valley. So this is where our little calendar is. So when you click on something that we're up to, it'll pop up and you can click on it and learn more about it. All of our members have access to resources in these podcasts and any notices of information in the area. And then we have private groups, communities of support. These are places for folks who are seeking support. This is a general open campfire conversation, youth-friendly. We have behavior support. We have support for behavior support workers. We have support for leaders and program managers, and then also for parents. We have a local Wildcraft roleplay club. So it's live action roleplay with our Wildcraft twinge on it. And so this is our club. We have people who help run the world. So this is their little private space if you're interested. This is a more global non-player character guild. So anybody who dresses up and runs live action roleplay in the forest for other people, this is where we can troubleshoot and share ideas. This is for people who want to run the world, so they host the story. This is for people who are managers and program leaders and owners like myself who want to create their own world. And here's some best practices for running business stuff in general, from marketing and insurance and that kind of stuff. And then we have our High Guild players. This is where the information is for them. And then we also have a vision board. So people who are visionaries who are either stakeholders or run their own businesses and are wanting to collaborate and connect and hold a vision for sharing resources and collaborating. That's what this is for. So this is a resource that I just want you to know about, and just a little gentle reminder about our private group. It's Wildcraft Play School with no H. You're also very welcome to reach out to me on social media. I go by Jamie Black Hummingbird on Facebook. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn as well. And if you need help from me directly and you want some guidance, you want some coaching, I'm available as well. You can reach out to me and we can chat about what's possible. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you gained some insight and found some activities that were good for you. I highly recommend you buy some of these books that I mentioned and check out the links online, and many blessings in your journey of crafting outdoor activities. Have a lovely day. Take care.